Welcome to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CRE PN Radio. Thanks for joining us. My name is J. Darren Gross. This is the podcast focused on commercial real estate and investment and risk management strategies. Weekly, we have conversations with commercial real estate investors and professionals who provide their experience and insight to help you grow your real estate portfolio. Today's interview is sponsored by Building Insurance and Risk. When you invest in real estate, you need to protect yourself and your investment from catastrophic loss. The experts at Building Insurance and Risk provide you with multiple insurance coverage offers and a side-by-side coverage comparison. To learn more, go to buildinginsurancerisk.com. Today, my guest is Russ Morgan. Russ is the co-founder and partner at Wealth Without Wall Street, an online community that seeks to re-educate business owners and families on how money truly works. And in just a minute, we're going to speak with Russ about how you can benefit. Wait a minute. I have like multiple topics here, and I thought I'd narrowed it down here. Russ, what's the, I've got, what is investor DNA and why you should only invest when following yours? That was investor DNA was kind of one of these things. Do you have the investor DNA? So
yeah, you want to talk about that? That's fine.
Well, I mean, it'll lead in all this stuff, but I mean, just a topic on there. I apologize here. So
no, that's
a
fine.
little small edit here. So, and in just a minute, we're going to speak with Russ about what is investor DNA and why you should only invest when following yours. But first, a quick reminder. If you like our show, CRE PN Radio, there are a couple things you can do to help us out. You can like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we encourage you to leave a comment. We love to hear from our listeners. Also, if you want to see how handsome our guests are, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube at Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. And while you're there, please subscribe. With that, I want to welcome my guest, Russ Morgan. Welcome to CRE PN Radio.
Thank you, Darren, for having me. Excited to be on here with you today.
I'm looking forward to our conversation. Before we get started, if you could take just a minute and share with the listeners a little bit about your background.
Okay, I'll be brief. I don't want to put anybody to sleep, right? I started out as a certified financial planner, as an investment advisor, a long ways away from our current company, which is Wealth Without Wall Street. When the market crashed in 2009, I was sitting there like everybody else, palms up, trying to figure out what happened. And it sent me on a several-year journey to determine how can I personally grow wealth without Wall Street and also help my clients along the way. And that led me to joining forces with my current business partner, Joey Murray. A handful of years later, we started the company Wealth Without Wall Street. 2017, we started a podcast called Wealth Without Wall Street that seeks to help people who want to become financially free get there faster and do it without having to invest in things that they don't understand and don't like, without having to wait till they're 65, and without having to work in a scenario where they're out of cash, trying to pay off debt and living day to day. So that's our objective and goal. And we help people build passive income, become better investors, and create their own personal financing and cash flow systems.
I love that. So the name Wealth Without Wall Street is kind of a funny one, to think that you started as a certified financial planner. Definitely gets your attention.
Right.
Tell me a little bit more. You mentioned kind of the podcast and educating people. Are you helping people invest? Are you purely an education platform, or how is it that you guys, or what is it that you do at Wealth Without Wall Street?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. So I said it quickly a second ago, and oftentimes it's lost in all the other things I was talking about. So there's three specific things that we do. The first thing we do is help people build their own personal cash flow systems. And for me, that was the exit out of Wall Street. I met a man named Nelson Nash when I was at a conference in Orlando, Florida. He wrote a book called Becoming Your Own Banker. The idea was that our cash needs to reside somewhere within our control and not in the form of 401ks and IRAs and equity in homes and so forth and so on. And he helped me see the light that the reason why people are not financially free is that they don't have access to money. They put it in places they can't touch. And so that was a big thing for us. So our team became known as one of the premier places to go and to set up these infinite banking systems and help people build cash in a place that they could control. So we still do that to this day. We were mentored by that author because he happened to live in our hometown. We didn't know that at the time. And we got to spend about 10 years with him before he passed. The second thing that we do is we've built a community that is designed to help people become better investors. And we do that kind of by leading from the front. So my business partner and I publish our personal passive income report every single month. And we talk about our experiences, and we interview guests on our podcast as well, who are experts in many different areas. Real estate's one of many, right? But there's so many different ways in real estate to create passive income. So we are trying to help people understand who they are as an investor. We call that their investor DNA. We help them determine what their investor buy box is so that they can make decisions and based upon the criteria that fits their investor DNA. And then lastly, it's ultimately connecting them to building passive income based upon that, and doing that within safety, being around other like-minded people. So we also run 2 passive income masterminds. One's called the Passive Income Mastermind. One's called the Inner Circle. One's for non-accredited investors. One's for accredited investors. And so our organization helps people not only get set up in cash, connect them to like-minded people, but also be there to give them a shoulder to lean on whenever they get in trouble, whether that's from us or resources within our network.
No, I appreciate you breaking that out and
Yeah.
going a little deeper on that. So, the historical notion has been that people they get a job or get an education, get a job, have a 401k and fund that. And that was kind of the way it was described to me as, hey, you invest in the company will match. And, you start early, it'll grow. And before you know it, you'll be ready to retire and in comfort kind of thing. What's wrong with that model?
Where do I start?
I want to hear from a guy that you've been the guy selling that kind of a program.
Yeah, I was early
Yeah,
on. That was my career. When I started in financial industry in 2004, that was my career. It was helping people set up retirement plans and manage those funds. Here's the problem with that is when someone reaches out to us, Darren, they have reached a point in their time where they are frustrated with the lack of time that they have, whether that's lack of time to pursue other ventures or lack of time to spend with family. And it's always because they're constrained, typically because of the job or business they've put themselves in. And we create prisons for ourselves, right? Like none of these bills and expenses we have were given to us. We acquired them and did willingly on the front end, no matter what it was: homes, cars, student loans, whatever. We went in there open arms and got it. Well, someone gets to a point where they're frustrated and they're trying to figure out, how do I get out of that? They come to us and they say, I want to be financially free. And we say, well, what does that mean? They say, well, I want to be able to spend more time with my family. I want my spouse to be able to be at home. So during the summertime when our kids are out of school, we're not like playing daycare, roulette here, whatever that may look like. And I want to be able to travel more. I want to be able to pursue this other passion I have. Well, what does that require? It requires passive income greater than their monthly expenses, right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people listen to your show because they're trying to build their real estate portfolio to create cash flow. Cash flow then creates opportunities, which allows them to either pursue what they're doing at a higher level, pursuing excellence because of it, or it allows them to remove themselves from the constraints that they put upon themselves with the jobs. So when I talk about the 401k, I ask people, okay, Darren, when would you want to be financially free? And if the individual we're talking to is 45 years old, they say yesterday, right? They don't say 15 years from now. They definitely don't say specifically 14 years and a half, because until they reach 59 and a half, we all know we can't access the money within our 401ks or IRAs without penalties. So the instrument that they're most likely utilizing, regardless of the company matching or not, is a tool that is in direct conflict with their goal. If my goal is to be financially free today, I need to build passive income. Well, my 401k, my IRA cannot build passive income. And so that's why I say it's a direct conflict. It may be one of the worst instruments for someone wanting to become financially free that's been built, but yet there's what, $20 trillion or something like that in these plans.
No, it's funny as you get older and kind of realize that you're closer to the end, or there's not as much runway ahead of you as behind you, or however you want to put that. That do you want to be working forever, or do you want to have some life? And it certainly comes more into focus, when you have family and just how quickly time flies by. I know that's certainly something I've become more and more aware of. So when you talk about financial freedom and that, how, I mean, is it just, do you break it down pretty much to just more passive income than expenses? Is that the simple
It is
answer?
the simplest answer that exists. Like we always talk about the formula for financial freedom is easy, right? Passive income greater than monthly expenses. Going down the road right now, you don't even have to stop and write this out. Most likely you can do the simple math to tell you how close to financial freedom are you, right? Like you can say, how much passive income do I have? Let's just assume I have $10,000 a month in expenses and I have $1,000 a month in passive income. Well, I take the 1,000, I divide it into the 10,000. What percentage is that? 10%, right?
Yeah.
So I'm 10% of the way to being financially free. Now I have a goal. Now I have a mark. I can actually start pursuing that. Before, when I was a financial advisor, when I was a financial planner and I worked inside the belly of the beast, it was, we need 7 figures. Well, exactly what number? Well, I don't know exactly amount, because what we've got to do is once we get there, then we're going to use this 4% rule, right? That was the old safe withdrawal rate. Well, we interviewed Wade Fowle, the most recorded guy on this concept right now, like 2 years ago. And he told us the 4% rule is gone. It's 3% rule, right? And so now it's like, if I have $1 million, that means I can take out $30,000 a year and have a 100% likelihood I won't run out of money at the end of 20 years. So if I took out more, I don't have the safety of knowing that I may run out of money. Well, so if I'm living off $10,000 a month, right? Well, how much money do I need to take out based upon the 3% rule? Well, I need to have at least $4 million in the account, taking out 3% to get me to 120, but that's after tax if it's coming out of 401k. So do I need to have 5 million, 6 million? Well, for the average person who's looking at their 401k balance right now, they say, well, I have 372,000. That's forever. That's just never going to happen. And it's deflating. But yet the same person comes into our world and says, I need to build $10,000 a month in passive income. Just like the lady that we had, Dawn, who was raising 2 kids, recently divorced, and said, I need to build $10,000 a month. And we said, okay, well, here's a pathway to do it. Within 18 months, she had built a pathway with a lot less than $5 million, right? She built a pathway to actually create $10,000 a month and was able to leave her job and now spend more time with her kids and pursue things that was more of her passion project. So what we say is that passive income can lead to passion income. I don't believe in retirement. I think retirement is a new age word that shouldn't exist, but what people are looking for is freedom.
Right. No, I think that's kind of more of the understanding I've come to, is it's not necessarily a quitting. It's a matter of just more time.
Sure.
Freedom. So I'm curious. So you mentioned 18 months. Literally in 18 months, she was able to achieve, or was she just on a path to achieving the $10,000 a month?
Yeah. Well, Dawn, in her situation, within 18 months, had created the $10,000 a month in passive income. I mean, I could tell you story upon story of people in our community that has built, $5,000 a month, all the way up to $50,000 a month, right? the key is that, is it possible, right? Once you understand the formula, it becomes really easy. Why do people not achieve financial freedom earlier in the traditional environment? Because the target is constantly moving, and they have really little impact in how to do it, right? Like, how much results can you have in the current 401k environment, in the mutual fund that you're investing in, the stock that you're investing in? Can you impact the outcome of it? No, you
No,
can put more
not at all.
money in,
Or you
but
can,
even the
yeah,
more money you put in doesn't lead necessarily to a better result, right? People can look at, man, I've been putting more money in over the last 12 months and my account's lower than it was 12 months ago.
yeah,
How's
yeah.
that possible? Well, so then that leads to somebody putting the minimum amount into it and spending the maximum, right? As compared to when you say, hey, I need $10,000 a month to cover my monthly expenses. Okay, well, what is it that I can do to create that? And then they get really clear with that. And then every time that they make one step, they create $100 a month or $500 a month, they go, oh, wow, I'm 1% there, I'm 5% there, I'm 10% there. And how fast can I do it? Well, we show people, here's a process to do it. And then if you want to fast track it, here's what this person did to fast track it. Here's what this person did to fast track it. And some people can, and some people can't. It's always up to you. There's no good or bad investments. There's only good and bad investors, right? That's what Robert Kiyosaki said. And I totally believe that.
So help me understand, what are some of the vehicles that people are using? You mentioned infinite banking as one, and I'm a little bit familiar with that, but I'd love for you to kind of get into that. But just share with the listeners, what are some of the vehicles, or how is it? I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, I need $10,000 passive income. Are you cashing out a 401k and investing? What is it? What are you doing that's getting somebody to that, or how is it that one is generating 10,000 passive income?
Yeah. Well, if it's okay, I'd like to build to that, because
Yeah, no,
that's the most frequently asked question,
got
right?
you, you got my attention.
That's the most frequently asked question. What are you investing in? And you could easily go to our website and scroll to the bottom and pull up our passive income report. And you would see mine and my business partner's personal passive income report that we report on every single month. So in the month of September, we published 65,000 for the month. I think in the month of October, it was like 41,000. So that's a monthly number, a little over $500,000 for the year in passive income. And it consists of lots of different things. And so people will look at our numbers and say, oh, you guys are doing this land flipping thing. You're doing this short-term rental thing. Oh, you're doing this syndications over here. Oh, you're in an e-commerce business, or you have long-term rentals. That's what I should do. And what we always say is pump the brakes on that. Because the answer, and I said it a second ago, is there are no good or bad investments. There's only good or bad investors. So the key for everyone is that they have to understand, one, what is their goal? Truly, why are you going to accomplish this? Like, Darren, what is the thing that's going to make sure that you never quit trying to get there? Because sometimes people have not even taken the time to say, what is my why? And is it greater than my why not? And that's why they've not pursued it to this point, because they don't have clarity. So they need to have strategy and clarity around what they want to accomplish. Then they got to get their cash in a place that they can access it. So we were talking about infinite banking. We're not in the business of giving people investment advice. So I will not tell somebody, you need to cash out your 401k, you need to sell this stock, you need to do this. Never would you hear me or any of our coaches do that. One, because we're not licensed to do that anymore, thankfully. Don't want to be in that position. Have no interest in investing your money for you. Got my own to invest. But what we want to do is help them see, is it getting you closer to or further away? If it's further away, then why are you doing it? What are you going to do now? And so, yes, do we have people who can? Most people in a 401k can't do anything with it, right? As long as they're employed at the job, they don't have access to that money. Now, when I was an investment advisor starting out in 2004, 2005, 2006, you could go and access 401k monies. There were abilities for early withdrawals. That stuff left a long time ago. Whenever the stock market crashed in 08, the Wall Street went to and redid all the contracts that existed out there and said, yeah, there are no more early withdrawal options within existing plans. No more in-service withdrawals is what they had. They don't do that anymore. Why? Because they don't want to reduce their percentage of money they're getting paid on. Now they tried to say, oh, well, Darren, this is for your good, because if you take out the money before you get to 59.5, you're not going to have it, yada, yada, yada. So they've done away with that. So most people can't get access to that money anyway, but maybe they stop contributing to the problem. But whenever they understand, hey, I got to get my cash in a place that I can use, well, then that allows for opportunities to happen. There's $1 million opportunities. There's thousands of dollars a month of cash flow opportunities around you every single day. Well, why haven't you participated in it? Well, you don't know they exist. Darren, I don't care what kind of car you drive. Let's just assume you drive a white Ford F-150. Okay. When everybody has went and bought a car, and whatever kind of car it was unique and new to you. And when you got out on the road, probably even before you got home, what did you notice? 2 or 3 other cars looking just like it on the road. Well, right. You never saw those cars before. Why didn't you see them? Because your brain filtered it out. It was unimportant information. Well, here's the key, is that when we get access to cash and we tell ourselves that we want to buy assets that are going to produce passive income, now our brain is focused in on what those opportunities might look like. And it starts looking for them everywhere. Now, I may not know what to do with them, right? I have to educate myself as an investor to be better at that. But I start looking and seeing opportunities everywhere. And that's what we found is once somebody has access to cash, now it begs the question, what are you going to do with me? How do you get me at work? And so now we move into the third column, which is, how do I start building that 5 or 10,000 a month or 25,000 a month, right? I got a dentist in our passive income mastermind that's up to $60,000 a month. When he first got in our mastermind, his goal was to get to 30K. Well, now he's moving towards 60K. He's like, because I want to be able to take care of the next generation and the next generation. Like, why stop? This is more about building a process where my kids don't have to reinvent the wheel. My grandkids don't have to reinvent the wheel. Well, how do you do that? You have to figure out who you are as an investor. We're all unique. Your gifts and my gifts are most likely completely different. The way that you're going to see the world and be able to invest in things, I will not have that capability because I don't have your experiences. I don't have your resources, and I don't have your network. I don't have maybe your finances. Same thing with me. So the first thing I did that cost me 11 years of my life is I made an investment in a single family property. That $97 a month coming in was not exciting to me. It's 6 months in when the rental property above me flooded my unit and cost me the next 18 months of that $96 a month. It was gone, right? Now, was it the single family rental property that was the problem? Of course it wasn't. I was not excited by that single family property because I couldn't influence my investor DNA. I want to be involved. I want to have the ability to influence the outcome. I like to manage things. I like to provide ideas to it. I tend to find investments and turn them into businesses. Well, so for me, that wasn't an opportunity. I couldn't do that with that. So I didn't invest in another passive income asset for 11 years. But then when I figured out this whole thing about, hey, invest from your own gifts, invest from your own investor DNA, I realized that I was good at building businesses. Well, how can I build a business? So I found a concept called the land flipping. I don't know if you've ever interviewed Mark Podolsky on your podcast. Amazing.
Yeah. Great guy.
Love that guy.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by his concept. It was a business. Now, I did not want to personally operate the business, but I wanted to invest into it. So what do? We figured out a way to create a business around it, put in operators, put in a team that's running the whole thing. Now, I put capital in, I add management experience to it. I had some level of influence to the equation, and now it's producing $25,000 a month in passive note income to us. Same thing with the short-term rental business. I interviewed plenty of people in the short-term rental space. They were all mostly individual operators running 1 to 5 units themselves, telling me about all the problems that they were having and how they weren't able to scale because they were running, spatulas in the middle of the night over to the next unit while they're trying to, change the pillowcases on the other one. Well, that didn't make sense to me, but I did see the opportunity. I saw the unique, market share it had, the ability to add instead of long-term rental. So my business partner and I went and hired an operator that had run a similar type business, just in a different field. And we knew he had the skills, and we added capital to it. And we scaled from 0 units to over 30 units over the last 2.5 years. And we did that in a non-vacation market. So that business produces between 5,000 a month and 35,000 a month, depending on the season that we're in. Well, those are things that fit my DNA, right? That's not something I would tell you to go do unless you had the same exact resources, same exact skill sets that I possess. So people that come into our world sometimes want to be purely passive investors. We have an optometrist assist in our passive income mastermind. He's invested in probably 18 different syndications. He's looking both for long-term capital gain, but also for depreciation to offset a really high income, active income he has, and other things that he needs. So he's looking for that. So there's ways to invest, and there's not a one size fits all. It just needs to be tailor-made to your scenario.
No, I appreciate you going through that, because I think that's the everybody's trying to figure out the shortcut, the answer. And I think where you started is you got to know you.
Yep.
And what really is important to you. And from there, then you can, find the path and the vehicle that makes sense for you. And also the different vehicles you mentioned. Are there other businesses that that you or your clients have sought out? I mean, it doesn't sound like you're limited by your model as to any particular thing as much as it fits you and your goal.
No, I'm agnostic, and most of the people in our group are, right? We have a guy in our community that 2 years ago, during COVID, we did this financial freedom week, and we brought on, I don't know, 10 or 15 different people in different niches to share and do workshops for our client base. Everybody's at home, right? You had all sort of time. And so we were sharing this. And one of the groups was sharing how to build an e-commerce business, not the arbitrage model where you're buying cheap products and trying to sell them for a higher amount, but actually finding a product that's being sold right now and within a specific price range, and going out and redoing that product, like innovating on that specific product that's already a winner, right? It's already making money. And this company was really good at helping people discern what the process was, figuring out if it actually could make money. Well, one of our friends did this. He lives down in Florida, and he wanted to start a business with his 2 daughters. And he was a pastor, by the way. He and worked part-time as a pastor. And he'd left the Northwest to come to Florida because it was a full-time pastor. His wife had a really successful networking marketing business that made enough money where he could become a part-time pastor. And so he started this business with his 2 teenage daughters. And he started this business out at the end of 2020, probably the worst time to create an e-commerce business, because most products are shipped out of either India or China. Well, he got his first set of products in, sold out of them within like 3 weeks, and was 12 months before he could get the next shipment in. So he really figured it out, and then was stuck sitting for almost the whole 2021. At the end of 2021, he had made 4 different orders because he knew he needed to stagger them. He shared with us the other day on our podcast, he's up to 80,000 a month passive out of the business. So he's producing 350,000 a month in revenue and paying himself over 80,000 a month. And it requires about an hour and a half a week of his time.
Holy mackerel.
It's fascinating to me to see people do things like that. There's just a slew of opportunities out there. Somebody says, well, I want to go do that. Well, you have to have that same skill set, right? You have to possess the same thing that he did and put in the time that he did to get to it. We have, people, you talk to the land flipping business. It's fun to see somebody like Mark Podolsky to see what he's done. But yet we have a guy named Roberto that's in our passive income mastermind that was an attorney that was 3 years into his field, and realized that the only way he can make more money is if he put more hours in. He was sitting there looking at partners at 50, 60, 70 years old, and he's like, I don't want to be there. He was 30 years old. He's like, I don't want to be there 30 years from now. And so he heard Mark Podolsky on a podcast, started doing this. Within 4 years, he's built 50,000 a month in passive, working again about 3 hours a week. So there's so many opportunities to build streams of income, but sometimes people hear the word passive and they assume uninvolved. That's not always the case. You
Right.
sometimes you have to build a business and then set it up to where it runs on its own. So we move into that true B quadrant and out of the S quadrant, which so many people live in.
Yeah, I love the quadrants. They're that was that the four quadrants. Is that the book? I can't remember what was the name of the title of that book? Was it
Cash flow quadrants by
Cash Flow
Robert
Quadrants? Yeah,
Kiyosaki.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was good. Good. No, I appreciate you sharing kind of the different models, and it sounds to me kind of the um one of the things that holds people back, and I include myself, is just convention. There's the way things have always been done, the way you're supposed to do things, as opposed to having that insight, that aha, that something that burns within inside you that says, I can't do this. I need something's better. There's got to be something better. And having that want, that really the desire that kind of drives you. But also I think being open to different opportunities, and being able to recognize those, and to see them for more than what they present themselves at face value. Um, how do you is that just innate? I mean, when people know that what they want, that they're seeing this, or is there any kind of um, you know coaching or conversations about looking beyond, you know, or to investigate things, or to see more opportunities than what's just on the surface?
Yeah, when people reach out to us, they've got a problem. They don't know how to solve it, right? If they knew how to solve it, they wouldn't be calling us. But they hear a story. Maybe it's one that we share on a podcast, on your podcast or ours. They hear a client or hear a friend that's been in this, and they say, I want that. I want to get out of this pain. I want to be in a position to where I could do that thing. And to your point, when they have that desire, now they set up a 15-minute call with one of our coaches. And what we do is we want to know that their why is greater than their why not. They have to convince us, to be honest. Like, we don't want to take on anybody, because if someone who is willing to learn, we can help get there. Someone who has all the money in the world but believe they've got it all figured out and have arrival syndrome, to be honest, we just don't want to work with them. They're not going to be a good fit. And so when somebody gets into our world, we take them through a process that we call our right next thing, helping them understand what is the right next thing. We help them self-assess where they are in relationship to all of these different categories. And it's overwhelming sometimes to see all the different options, to realize there's so much unknown and there's so much uncertainty in what I've been doing. But then there's safety in knowing, hey, there is a process to do this. I can get education on these core areas. I can then start to build my own investor DNA, my own investor buy box, my own passive income operating system. And then I can start stacking cash, because once I do it once, I can do it over and over again, right? Like, there's people that don't come in with a ton of capital who immediately, once they get in and they start doing it, they realize, okay, now I have this skill that produces passive income on a regular basis. Like, we have a guy in our group called his name is Jeff. His skill set was being able to operate the Burr method. Well, the biggest problem he had early on was access to cash. He just ran out of money. But once he did it over and over again, then now he could go and borrow other people's money. And now he's got up to 58 doors personally, and he's become financially free. He's been able to leave his job in order to work part-time in that business, and actually consults and coaches in our company with people that come in, because he just has a passion to help people see what he saw. So when you figure out that you don't have to have all the answers, but you have to be around other people pursuing it. And too often times at the water cooler, you start talking about passive income and people naysay you, right? It's the crab in the barrel story. They try to pull you back into where they are. Oh, that's impossible. That doesn't exist, man. That's just a bunch of hooey. That's just a bunch of workshops. You go spend thousands of dollars and you end up with nothing but a lighter wallet or whatever. And I'm not saying that some of those things don't exist out there, but I'm just saying I see people over and over again who really want to do it, accomplish it, And it's not because we did anything great for them. We just unlocked the things that they hadn't saw.
No, no, very true. And just the fact that, there's so much opportunity out there, and really kind of starting with that core thing, knowing yourself and kind of, figuring out what's important to you, I think is kind of really the key to this. And because if you know that you want something different and you're willing to work for it, and put in the time and put in the effort and the education and the connections and all that, um, it's just, I think a lot of it's just a mind shift or mindset shift too. I mean, if you're if you're not exposed to people that have achieved these things, it might be more difficult. But the more you're exposed to people that have achieved the financial freedom and kind of understand the way they think and the way they did it, it seems like it's much more attainable and something that you could possibly achieve.
Yeah.
So
When you get into an environment, Darren, that your goal behavior is the average of the group's natural behavior, it allows you to level up very quickly.
oh, so tell me more about the community that you've created there. Is this is it online? Do you have in-person events? Is there a selection process? I mean, are you admitted? How's it, what's the process, and is there cost involved, et cetera?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking. So, if it's okay, I'll share a link and they can get access to
Yeah.
this and I'll talk about it. If you go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/commercial real estate pro network, you'll get access to this. I also have a quiz and tell you self-assess where you are. You can jump on 15-minute call with our coaches if you want to, but also you get free access into a community that we built. So we built a community that has almost 7,000 people in it right now. You can download our app on the App Store, type in Wealth Without Wall Street, download it, it's free. But within there, right, we do have groups, masterminds. Napoleon Hill said, when you get two minds together, you create a third mind. And what for us, what we wanted to do is go deep with the people who really wanted to achieve 100% of their monthly expenses. That's what we do in our inner circle group. And then for the people who've already achieved the money and they're really trying to focus on the time, that's in our passive income mastermind group. We're going at 200%. That's our goal. And so we do have an interview process to get into both of those groups. There is a cost for each one of those groups. Our members are in there for a minimum of 12 months. We have live events that we do, and then we meet on a virtual basis on a monthly basis. So we have, depending on which group, they're all doing different things. Our higher end group, they tend to have less time that they want to focus on getting together on virtual. So we meet twice a month virtually and twice a year live, usually in resort type areas. Our inner circle group, we meet more frequently virtually, and we meet once a year live, because again, travel sometimes is difficult for that group because money is the issue that they're solving for. And so we're working through with those groups. Our coaches are helping them, help them with their right next thing. And they're ultimately getting connected to the resources and the people that they need to accomplish that right next thing, so that they're ultimately achieving either 100% or 200% of their monthly expenses.
Awesome. Hey, Russ, if we could, I'd like to shift gears here for a second.
Okay.
As I've mentioned by day, I'm an insurance broker. And as such, I work with my clients to assess risk and determine what to do with the risk. And there's three strategies we typically consider. We first look to see if there's a way we can avoid the risk. When that's not an option, we look to see if there's a way we can minimize the risk. And if we cannot avoid nor minimize the risk, then we look to see if we can transfer the risk. And that's what an insurance policy is. It's a risk transfer vehicle. And as such, I like to ask my guests if they can look at their own situation. Could be their clients, interest rates, political, however you want to frame the question. But if you can identify what you consider to be the biggest risk, and again, for clarification, while I am an insurance broker, I'm not necessarily looking for an insurance related answer. And so if you're willing, I'd like to ask you, Russ Morgan, what is the biggest risk?
So the biggest risk is lack of access to cash. The biggest risk preventing people from being financially free is they have no access to cash. It's what keeps us going to work every day, right? I have to be able to make the mortgage payment. I have to be able to make the student loan payment. I have to create the income in order to go on that once a year vacation, pay the cell phone bills. And they have no access to cash, so they have no ability to go buy assets that would create the passive income to exceed or pay for those monthly expenses.
No, that's pretty cut to the chase to the issue most of us face, the access to cash there. That's pretty good.
Well, and here's the thing too, Darren. Sometimes people say, well, Russ, I mean, I've heard some of the people on your podcast or on Darren's podcast, and they're just sitting on 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures of money. I just don't have the ability to do that where I am. My active income just doesn't produce enough. And I'm going to call garbage on that, because I've seen people who have $50,000 a year in income achieve financial freedom. Like if you've ever played the game Cash Flow, wonderful game, not a cheap game, but a great game. Play it with my kids. The first time you play it and you draw the doctor card, you think you've won the lottery, right? Because you got the highest income of everybody. But everybody who's played it realizes the person who gets the janitor card is most likely going to be the first one out of the rat race. It wasn't because of the income. The income is never the problem. So when you understand that it's all about where are you taking and putting that income? Are you stuffing it to pay down debt? Are you using it to put in your 401k to try to build up some nest egg for the future? You know, are you making mistakes with money because you don't know what to do with it? You're betting on the come when you invest in assets, only looking for capital appreciation. That's probably where you don't have access to cash. You just put it in the wrong place. Now, some people have spending problems. I would tell most of those people they have income problems, fixed income. But most people that we see, they've just taken their money and they've put it in places they can't touch. And that's the biggest risk that they have, because the way you become financially free is having access to cash to do things with it.
Well, that's great. Hey, Russ, where can listeners go if they'd like to learn more or connect with you?
Yeah. Go to wealthwalkwallstreet.com/commercial real estate pro network. And not only, can you get in our community, you can connect with me or one of our coaches. You guys can listen to our podcast, which is Wealth Without Wall Street as well. And we'd love to help you along your journey, no matter where you are.
Awesome. Russ, I can't say thanks enough for taking the time to talk today. I've enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and look forward to doing it again soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Darren. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. For our listeners, if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the more you know, the more you grow. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CRE PN Radio.